From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Odell Beckham Jr.'s new agent, also known as Jaime Hixson.
Yeah, and my name is still Hector Bosa, the hardest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV. With yours truly from the Home Invaders variety show. Now, Jaime, there's been a lot of trades going on. I mean, if you want to start with baseball, I mean, there has been two things that have been going on with baseball.
Yep.
Brandon Nemo is solidifying himself, but they're giving him a chance to do something.
Yeah. Brandon has been one of the very few bright, shining moments that the Mets have had for the entire season. I mean, the attitude, not just the way he plays the game, but the attitude that he brings to the game every single time. He's always smiling. He's always rubbing off well on his teammates. That is the type of teammate that if the Mets multiplied him by 25, you could probably have not just a contender, but a really likable squad. That's number one. Number two, up until yesterday, up until the last two innings of yesterday's Nationals game, the Mets were actually playing some really good baseball, and it was because of their pitching. Jacob deGrom has been dynamite. I just wish that he would get a little bit more run support. Noah Syndergaard has pitched very well. Zach Wheeler has been smoking hot. He now has a 7-game winning streak. Those three guys should be the guys that the Mets have to build with, not build on, but build with for next season. Because after all of the rumors of deGrom being sent to the Yankees or being sent someplace else, it's good to see that the Mets know a really promising young athlete when they see it, and that's deGrom right there. I mean, granted, deGrom is he's not getting any younger. He's approaching his 30th birthday, but at the same time, deGrom has easily been their best pitcher, their best Met overall this season. And unfortunately, yesterday, the bullpen sprung a leak when they wound up giving up 14 runs in the last two innings to the Nationals. At least the Mets were able to save a little face and take the first couple of games in this series by identical 3-0 scores. Now the Mets, even though the record doesn't really show it, they can try and build on their really solid pitching for the last month of the year. And just to give you an idea what the Mets are going to be doing, they actually have the Chicago Cubs for 3 games. And this is the first of what promises to be a rather grueling road trip for them. There's the Cubs, there's the Giants, and then there's the Dodgers for 9 games before they come back home to play Eastern Division squads and the Red Sox for the rest of the year. As for the Yankees...
But remember, don't forget that the Philadelphia Eagles,
Yeah, that's right. Jose Bautista, who's been bouncing around this season between the Mets and the Braves, looks like he's going to be finding himself a third team to work for this year, and it could be the Phillies. They already claimed him on waivers. Now the Mets might be working on their second trade of the season with the Phillies this year, or coming up.
What was their first?
The first one was the Asdrubal Cabrera trade that took place at the end of July.
Now, did that work out for them?
So far, Cabrera has hit a bit of a slump with the Phillies, but that's expected because it seems like every time a guy puts on a new uniform, they always struggle to try and fit in with their new team, or maybe they try to do too much.
What did the Mets get in return?
They got a minor league pitcher in return. He's, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's either in Binghamton or in Las Vegas right now. Oh, one other thing in regards to the Mets. I think this year is supposed to be the last year that the Mets have that partnership with the people in Las Vegas to have their AAA team there.
Oh, really?
Yep. So if I'm not mistaken, I think the AAA team for next year is going to be Syracuse. Which is going to be...
Yeah, it should be better for them. I mean...
It'll be much closer.
It'll be much closer, but... And they'll contend better with the cold.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but...
Nevada, it does get cold at nights. It does get cold at night.
But those summers, though. Those summers where it could reach, or even...
120 degrees.
120 degrees. Not only that, but you can expect a lot of home runs to be hit in that stadium in Vegas.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. I mean, the weather, it has a lot to do with it. And I was hearing about Jose Altuve, that they want him to hit home runs. Isn't there anybody out there that does what they're supposed to do? I mean, I don't want to sound like one of those old cronies that go, in the old days when we had Rod Carew and George Barrett and all them other people,
Spare me, please.
They just hit the ball. They wasn't going for home runs. They would just hit. If they hit a home run, they hit a home run. If they hit a double, they hit a double. But isn't it supposed to be more of getting on base? And the team is supposed to help you out?
Exactly right. Not only that, but you look at his body of work in what is now his 8th season. Jose Altuve hit 24 home runs each of the previous 2 seasons. And in 2015, he had 15 homers. This year, he has 10. Granted, his power production has gone down a little bit this year, but when you think about it, he's not necessarily a home run type.
But that's the thing. What do you need him for?
First of all, he doesn't have the build of a home run hitter. He's only 5'6" and 165 pounds. That's like saying that Doug Flutie should be throwing the ball 50 to 100 times a game as opposed to running the ball more often. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. True. Jose Altuve is known for one thing, and that's cranking out base hits with reckless abandon.
He's recorded on base.
He's recorded 200 hits each of the last 4 years. Let him do what he does best, please.
And why? Here's one for you.
Interesting. Why Jimenez will succeed. That's something that Hector showed me that was on the Bleacher Report right now. It's funny that we talk about prospects because right now, probably the hottest prospect in baseball, maybe one of the hottest prospects in baseball right now, just so happens to be the son of a guy who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame, Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah,
his son, Vladimir,
is doing fantastic.
Vladimir
right
Guerrero Jr., every single level of minor league baseball that
he's lighting it up.
He's been tearing the leagues to pieces. Don't be surprised if you see him be a September call-up.
I'm sure he will be, but can he still maintain? It's different. AAA is supposed to be close to be pro, but then you can tear up AAA. I mean, how many players have teared up AAA and then never succeeded in the majors?
Too many to even count.
And also...
But you want to know something? Mm-hmm. His father is probably best known.
Did he retire? He retired, right?
Vladimir Sr.?
Yes, Sr. retired.
He's in the Hall of Fame now.
Wow.
He hit over 400 home runs in his career.
Has there ever been someone that came out of retirement from the Hall of Fame and actually got on a team?
Oh, yeah. It wasn't in baseball, though. It was in hockey.
Oh, okay.
Guy Lafleur.
Yes.
Guy Lafleur came out of retirement to first play for the Rangers and then play for the former Quebec Nordiques. Didn't do terribly by any stretch of the imagination, but he came back and had a rather decent comeback.
Yeah, I mean, for what he was used for, which is good. I mean, And you got some other interesting news, which is David Wright coming back supposedly in September.
Mm-hmm. He's already participating in minor league games. Unfortunately, he hasn't been swinging the bat particularly well, but that's beside the point. The point is, it looks like he might be at least 90% right now, and maybe they could bring him back as a September call-up as well.
You know, you might as well. I mean, this guy, this is a man that has put so much into himself, and the Mets actually are giving him the opportunity to bring him back.
It just goes to show you that
they do have some type of loyalty.
Not only that, but there's also some pride involved. David Wright is a really proud guy. All of this talk of him just quitting because of his back and his neck condition, he's not a quitter. He is going to try and squeeze this for all it's worth. See if he has something left to try and contribute to the Mets for the next maybe 2 years.
I don't know if he'll play third base again, which is his natural position. He'll probably try to switch him to first base. That way he doesn't struggle. But, again, we'll see when that happens. Because, again, AAA and Major League's 2 different ball games.
Yep. And speaking of guys returning to the Mets, also returning is Jay Bruce.
Jay Bruce.
He came off the disabled list, and he wound up hitting a home run his first game back against the Nationals.
Yeah, and Pete Almros. Yeah, that is right.
Oh, yes. Peter Alonso.
Peter Alonso.
Peter Alonso is one of their prized first base prospects.
Yep.
Supposedly, he brings a lot of power, but he also brings
A lot of strikeouts.
But worst of all, he brings some very questionable defense to first base. One guy from WFAN said that Peter Alonso represents everything that was wrong with the Mets in their lean years.
Oh, wow.
That they bring up a prospect who is basically one-dimensional. He'll shine in one area, yet stub his toe in another area. Some say he might be like another Lucas Duda, where he's not necessarily great defensively, yet he'll add a little bit of power. You gotta give the kid at least a little bit of a chance. Let's see what he does in September.
Right, and also Jason Vargas.
Yeah.
Is he finally getting himself straightened out?
Yes, he's definitely getting himself straightened out. He's finally gotten control of his off-speed stuff, and because of that, he's won his last 2 starts. So now he's up to 4-8 this season. ERA is still a little bloated, but at the same time, at least he's able to show a little bit more mettle than he did the first part of the year. Another couple of guys in that Mets rotation.
Armand Rosario.
Well,
that goes yard on this one, but Armand Rosario's another guy that is coming off. I mean, do the Mets...
He is somebody that is vital to what the Mets need if they want to contend in the next couple of years.
But I thought that the Mets farm system wasn't that good to begin with, and I'm hearing all these guys that are supposed...
It's the third to worst farm system in baseball now.
Oh, wow.
And for the record, the best farm system in baseball, no surprise, Atlanta. They're turning out prospects every single game. They're turning out prospects.
It used to be Atlanta, the Twins.
Atlanta, Minnesota, St. Louis.
St. Louis always had
great players coming out of their farm system.
Yankees.
Right now, the Yankees, I would say,
they go off and on.
They're middle of the pack. Let's put it that way.
Because before they get great. Then they'll bring up all them guys that, let's say, the full core.
Plus,
and then they'll have nobody else afterwards.
Plus, if they're looking for a quick fix, they're going to use one of those prospects to cut a deal.
Yeah, well, or they'll use Sheffield in the bullpen, as if told before. But that's going to be something else. But sticking to the Mets for a moment, which is kind of funny. The Mets do not have a chance of making the playoffs or the wild card this year.
With about 30 games left, I think it's best that they just see what they have in their system, see who can contribute for them next year, and then go into the offseason, look for someone, anyone, who can give them some help.
Not just anyone, and don't be cheap.
Yeah.
If you're going to get someone, don't be cheap, because the Wilpons have a problem. They either get stuck with a Bobby Bonilla type contract and they'll get stuck with that type of deal, or they'll get too cheap and will get nobody in return. So I don't know why. How is it that always happens to them?
Part of it has to do with the scouting system, which leads into management. Sometimes management doesn't necessarily go for the best scouts that can try and really look for that diamond in the rough.
Who's in their scouting system that you know of?
You know who's been doing a little bit of scouting for them and now has gotten a promotion? Omar Minaya.
Omar Minaya, I think he got a bum rap because he did well in other places, and then he came to New York and just blew up. But I think he's a good scout. I think he's got a good eye for talent. Now that's just me, but I don't know, because some people will say, well, Omar Minaya, when he was general manager, couldn't do nothing. If he was such a good scout, if he was such a good GM, why didn't he find some of these good guys in the beginning and all that? You can only play with what you have, and you can only sell with what you have too. You can't get a C player and then want to get an A player with that C player.
True.
So it makes no sense sometimes how people think. Oh,
By the
I
way,
want to get this guy.
That kid that you, whose picture you showed me just earlier.
Yes.
You're thinking of Andre Jimenez.
Yes.
Who right now is playing for Binghamton. He's playing in Binghamton. He's played 110 games with Binghamton and St. Lucie. His numbers look decent. 289 average, 28 doubles, 4 triples, 44 RBIs. So he's showing the ability to not only make contact, but also use his quickness to get on base. And for the record, Andre Jimenez is, I think, an infielder.
Like I said, let me ask you, for next season, since we always look at things for next season, where do you think they should build on?
When you say where should they build on, do you mean what positions on the field?
What positions or bullpen-wise? I mean, if they keep
bullpen-wise,
their
they
three.
need a lot of help. That is for sure. I mean, now that they traded Jody Familia, Robert Gestelman's going to be the closer. So, well, he's going to be the closer for the rest of this season, but is he going to be the closer for the future, or are they going to look elsewhere? Because right now, he's done okay. Not great, but he's done okay. The kid that's really done really well for themselves, not just as a starter, but as a reliever, is Seth Lugo. Seth Lugo needs to be given a lot more of a long leash, be it as a starter, which, by the way, he still wants to be. He still wants to start, or as a reliever. Every time I see the kid, he's almost always pitching very, very well. But after that, Jerry Blevins is going to be a free agent. Are they going to bring him back, or are they going to look elsewhere? Blevins has been shaky at best the last couple of years. But overall, he is the kind of lefty that the Mets are looking for to get those power lefties or dangerous left-handed hitters out. So maybe they should give him at least a 1 or a 2 year deal. After the bullpen, they have to get a first baseman. They have to get a center fielder. They need a catcher in the worst way because, quite frankly, I don't know what to make of Kevin Plawecki or Travis d'Arnaud for that matter. Travis d'Arnaud is still hurt. We don't know when he's going to be returning.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've seen the best out of Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard and Zach Wheeler, getting a 4th and 5th starter is vital to whatever plans the Mets want to have for next season, whether they just want to make themselves relevant or if they really want to be a contender. If they really want to be a contender, they need a really, really good 4th or 5th starter. And it's a good thing that they gave Jason Vargas a 2-year contract, because before this recent stretch, he looked so lost on the mound and so hittable that every Met fan was wanting for him to be either traded or released or banished to the bullpen.
Demoted.
So bullpen help, 4th and 5th starters, first base. Maybe they could use another second baseman now that Asdrubal Cabrera has been traded. And a center fielder. Because right now, Yoenis Cespedes is out. Michael Conforto is the only really good power guy that they have in there. They also have Jay Bruce coming back, and he's going to be on the hook for another 2 years. But right now, center field is a major sticking point for them.
So their best bet right now would probably be David Wright, hopefully playing first base, and
they'll definitely try and convince him to be a first baseman. Although in his eyes, he's only a third baseman. Or maybe have Todd Frazier play a little first base and make Wright the third baseman. Frazier's played first before.
Yes, that is true. And and going back, still talking about baseball for a moment. What did you think about the Staten Island Yankees?
It was really cool.
They made it until Honolulu beat at them.
Yeah.
And also
they won their first 2 games. Then they lost their last 2. They got shut out by Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yes.
And then came the game against Peachtree City, Georgia, which necessitated for them to go to the national championship game. Unfortunately, Georgia wound up winning that game against Mid-Island 7-4. But you know what? Did anybody see those kids getting that far? I mean, think about it. Winning the district, which is all of Staten Island, then the city, then the state, then the Mid-Atlantic region, just to get to Williamsport. There is nothing to be ashamed of. These guys were lit the way they were playing the game this year.
Well, hopefully Dave and Buster's will treat them well.
I certainly hope. I'll tell you one thing. We mentioned the Mets before. The Mets certainly treated them well because they invited them to Citi Field yesterday.
Good.
And who was the first guy that the kids asked for? Todd Frazier.
Todd Frazier.
He knows what it's like to have won a championship and to have been at the Little League World Series. He was the most popular guy in Williamsport.
I wonder how many of those kids will actually make it to AAA and...
From your mouth to God's ears.
There's got to be at least one of them, 1 or 2 of them out of the, 15 guys?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just too funny because we always want Staten Island to succeed because...
Well, you know what?
Because we don't get that
in more ways than one.
Because we don't get that much publicity to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
We're always the fifth, the stepchild. And... no matter what, unless it's a crime or something of that nature, Staten Island gets a bun rap. And it's good to see them again, but you wish they would have won. They would have gone all the way.
Yeah.
So they could have solidified. I mean, they gave their hearts and soul into it. And I'm sure they were nervous. And every time you get up to a certain pinnacle, you always get some type of nervousness. And so it was hard, and I'm sure they went through a lot of things. I wonder, it must have been hard for them to lose, but I wonder if they got it better as we got this far. It was great while it lasted. I hope that they got that out of it more than we lost, tough onions, with a bunch of, I hope they don't think they're a bunch of losers.
No,
that's
not even
that's
close.
the thing.
That's
I
not
hope they
even
don't get,
on
because
the
they're
radar.
not. They made it that far.
they won so much more than just Staten Island and the city and the state and the Mid-Island region. They won the hearts of every single Staten Island baseball fan here.
Yeah, and that now that's a great thing. That's a great thing. But hopefully we'll have them on.
That would be wonderful.
That will have them on and work on that. I'm sure they'll get tips from me next time when they come. That way I'll make sure they'll win. You ever try announcing one of their games?
I did in the past. About 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
They're fun.
Yeah.
Announcing the Little League games and the Babe Ruth games.
That
they're
was
great.
such a joy for me. Not just announcing baseball, but
Getting to know the kids and their parents as well.
and also getting to know the people that run the respective leagues. We wound up establishing some really good friendships
Yeah.
with the people that ran these leagues. I miss calling baseball so much. It would be really cool if I could go back to call another game again.
Hopefully sooner than later. Hopefully later than sooner. You
God
know
willing.
some people up in high places. Well, yeah, you should know people in low places too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing you got to do. If you should try it, we'll try it. That would be great. Just watch
I would
it.
love
That would be great because it was two different eras at the time when I played Little League, and it's totally different. A lot of things have changed. But going to the Yankees now, Sanchez is coming off.
Yeah, he's due to be coming off the disabled list exactly 1 week from today.
They're supposed to be. He's supposed to come back in September, and Didi Gregorius.
Mm-hmm.
They're on a winning streak right now.
Yep.
So
Just completed a 4-game sweep of Baltimore, which was vital. And while that happened, the Red Sox wound up getting swept down in Tampa. So now the deficit is only 6.5 games in the Eastern Division. And right now the Yankees are starting another series. They're playing the White Sox right now in the Bronx. So they're back home. And as we speak, they are in the second inning, and there's no score.
But at least right now, the Yankees are going in the right places.
Mm-hmm.
With Gregorius's heel injury.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he'll come back strong.
There's also the matter of Aaron Judge, too. He's also, if I'm not mistaken, supposed to be doing a rehab assignment right now in the minors.
Oh, wow. Luke Vogt is the Yankees cleanup. Could he be the next Yankee cleanup hitter?
I think he already is, considering the guys that are out right now. Luke Voigt is the kid that you're talking about.
Yes.
Luke Voigt is a guy who has toiled in the minor leagues, originally with the Cardinals, because that's who he got drafted by and signed with in the first place. It looked like he was living a dream playing for his home state Cardinals, because he was born and raised in Missouri, went to college at Missouri State, got drafted by the Cardinals, signed with them, then played 6.5 years in their minor league system, and then played about 60 games with them last year. This year, he was toiling between the Cardinals and their minor league system again. Then he gets traded for Chasen Shreve, which surprised a lot of people because Chasen Shreve was one of the guys who was really helping him out in their bullpen. But the Yankees needed depth at first base because Greg Bird has not been hitting the ball well at all.
Ever since his injury.
Not only that, Greg Bird cannot stay healthy.
Yeah,
so there's
that's
questions
one
about
thing.
whether he can survive for at least 130 games a year. So they made the trade with Luke Voigt. He's given them instant offense now.
So that's first base. He's covered. Now he's a good defensive ball player too.
Good defensive ball player, very good power hitter.
Now, he's a righty or lefty right now?
He's a right-handed hitter.
Right-handed hitter. So imagine having all these guys coming back healthy.
If those guys come back healthy
and this dude,
and they're at full strength,
that's a hell of a hitting team.
I would not want to be the opponents that were to play the Yankees.
Except for
the rest of the
Boston. I mean, the only top two teams right now is Boston and in the American League in that perspective. Division.
Boston and Houston.
Yeah, they're on top of
In
the world.
their respective divisions, but when you think about it, the two best records belong to the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Right.
And they have 2 more series left to play against each other.
Exactly. So
there's one problem, though. Before this past weekend, the Yankees had major problems against teams that were under 500. Keep in mind, they were swept by Tampa Bay.
It's as if they don't get up. They don't get up for teams. You know,
and earlier in the season, the Orioles took 3 out of 4 from the Yankees in the Bronx.
You know, that happens once in a while too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't get amped up for a team. You always want to play Boston every day because that really charges you up. Who wants to play the last place team a lot of time? Nobody wants to play the last place team.
That's what makes baseball so unique.
But
anybody can beat anybody at any given time.
Exactly. So the thing is, there's a lot of right-handed hitters on the team.
Yeah.
And they need more lefties in there somehow. I know Gregorius
is a natural lefty.
Yeah, but he's a switch. They're trying to push him into being a switch hitter.
They want to make him a switch hitter?
I think. Because didn't he hit righty at one time?
Let's see what he can do as a right-handed hitter. I may be wrong, but let me just see what he can do as a righty.
And also, they signed Quentin Berry.
Yeah, they gave him a minor league deal, and they already sent him to Scranton.
So that's a good thing. And David Robertson to be dominant again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's another guy.
And for the record, Didi Gregorius is a southpaw.
He's a southpaw.
And, he's a southpaw and a righty hitter, so he's a switch hitter.
So he's a switch hitter, but his natural is lefty.
Mm-hmm.
But David Robertson is back.
Yep.
I mean, right now, you know, in Sheffield, they're planning to put him in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
That's their thing
Justice
right
Sheffield,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's assuming they even give him the opportunity to be a September call.
Now that's one guy I don't understand why they don't try. What is it?
I think I might know why. Because for one, they're already loaded in the starting rotation with Severino, who looks like he's finally back on track after a really deep slump. They've got Severino, they've got J-Hap, who ever since he started putting on the Yankee pinstripes has done nothing but win. I think he's won 5 in a row now.
Now remember who they're playing too.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's see in an actual game where they're actually
if he were to start a game against the Red Sox, I want to see what he can do against that batting order, because that batting order has one lethal hitter after another, from Mookie Betts to Jackie Bradley Jr. to J.D. Martinez. And to think, all of this being done without Dustin Pedroia, who's missed practically the whole season.
You know, that's Boston for you. I wonder how many games they're actually going to win.
Well, at this rate, the Red Sox will probably break 100 victories because they've already reached 90 for the year.
Right.
They won 90 games before September even arrived.
You got to win those early games. People think, oh, it's just the beginning. No, every game has to be won because you never know.
Yeah.
There may be tiebreakers that you lost behind that you should have won. No, every game must be won. But Sheffield to the bullpen, as long as they use him, they got to use him in some shape or form. And then next year, you're going to decide who you're going to keep and who you're going to get rid of.
Yeah.
Because Sabathia may leave next year.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a free agent.
I'm sure he wants to play for the Yankees another year.
After 10 years in pinstripes, I think all he wants to do is pitch for the Yankees.
Yeah.
There's also the matter of J-Hap, who's also going to be a free agent, if I'm not mistaken.
That's another thing. You know, a lot of pitchers have to cover their own asses because they need 3 or 4 year deals, 5. They don't make no 10-year deals anymore, do they, in baseball?
The last guy that I remember that got a 10-year contract was Robinson Cano.
Don't you know? It's Robinson Cano. Good Lord.
And now he's serving a suspension for PEDs.
Yeah, well, that's...
And once the season is done, he's going to be halfway through his contract.
Yeah.
Speaking of 10-year contracts, Albert Pujols also has a 10-year contract.
Right.
He's played, this is his 7th year with the Angels. He's got another 3 years to go on his deal. The numbers have been good, but at the same time, he's been missing games because of injuries. He's not played first base because of his legs. He's got 2 sore legs. And also, he has only played in 1 playoff series as an Anaheim Angel. So tell me, did the Angels do the right thing giving him a 10-year deal after thinking that he was the guy to lead them to the next level?
Well, the thing is that at that time, you figure that you have the best players when he's in the prime of his career.
Mm-hmm.
So by giving him the first 5 years or so, those are supposed to be the prime years of his career, unless some major injury happens.
Mm-hmm.
So is it worth signing? I don't think there's a guy that anymore. I'm sure the Mets don't sign. The Mets only sign people that are for 3 years now, and that's it.
Yeah, they will not do long-term contracts with any of their stars unless their name is David Wright.
He's got to be really fantastic. I mean, if I know what Altuve isn't he signed for 10 years or so?
I think
7-year contract.
I think
somewhere
Altuve has a
around
7-year deal.
there. Again, he's still in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to just figure it out. You just got to figure it out. Is he worth it? I mean, at least he has the DH going for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those guys just have the DH going for them, and that's it.
I mean, it's not like the Angels have been ripped off. I mean,
They got their money's worth.
Yeah,
they did get their money's worth for that time.
He's had a good career. I mean, except for the 1 year where he missed just over half the season. I mean, he's been consistently playing 150 games a year ever since he signed that deal, and the power numbers are there. But his average has actually dropped off in the last 4 years. Again, power numbers are there, but his average has dropped off the last 4 years. And also, he's a guy who you very rarely can strike out because he's such a disciplined hitter. He will not swing at bad pitches. But again, he was brought there because the Angels thought he would be the guy to take them to the next level.
They did. He did take them to the next level. Now, did he get him over
for
the
1
hump?
year?
Yeah. Well, again, he can't be the only one. You need guys around him. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's not basketball. It's not even soccer. You can't do this one-on-one. This is a team sport. If you don't have the pieces, you're just gonna get killed out there.
And it's not like the Angels are anything like the Baltimore Orioles, for example, where they're like a last-place team. I mean, the players that they have are good. And we mentioned Pujols. Of course, having the best player one of the best players in the game, which is Mike Trout, will always help a guy. Andrelton Simmons was a decent shortstop. Jeffrey Marte. Their catching rotation has been okay. Pitching has been okay, but mostly the reason why the Angels have been disappointing this year is because they've got at least 10 guys on the disabled list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's the pitching staff alone. 10 different pitchers have been placed on the disabled list this year.
Whatever happened to Jabba Chamberlain?
He retired.
Really?
Yep. He retired early.
Wow. After he got traded, that was it for him.
Mm-hmm. Mostly because he had some arm problems. He had a lot of arm problems from firing so many fastballs.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's a shame because when he first came up, he was supposed to be the next Goose Gossage and had all
They thought
these
he was going to be
great-
the next great pitching sensation.
And he was, for a time being. He actually
was.
was. He actually was. And people were behind him 100%. Then all of a sudden,
He wound up getting hurt,
yeah,
first of
he
all.
wound up getting hurt.
And then
they tried him as starting pitching.
they bounced him around between starting and relieving.
Because he wanted to start.
Yeah.
That was one of the problems. Mm-hmm. He wanted to start. And I don't know how people see things sometimes, but when you know you have something good, organizations think you should stop because you're young.
Yeah.
And then as you get older, you should lay back and be a reliever.
Yeah.
And there have been great starters that have been great relievers. If you think about it, Ron Guidry was a great starter and reliever.
Yep. Probably the one great starter that I knew of.
Righetti.
Yes.
Dave Righetti.
He was a Cy Young Award winner. Well, he was Rookie of the Year, and then he won the Cy Young Award. And he transitioned to being one of the best relievers in baseball, not just with the Yankees, but with the San Francisco Giants for a time.
Exactly.
And then he transitioned to being a really great pitching coach for the Giants. Wound up
Exactly.
winning, I think, 2 or 3 titles with them.
You can't go wrong when you actually know. I mean,
He was always one of my favorite Yankees. Do you know that I attended his no-hitter?
No, I didn't know that.
35 years ago, last month, was
Wow.
the anniversary of his famous no-hitter against the Red Sox. Independence Day, 1983. Mm-hmm. I was there with my dad.
Speaking of extensions and so forth, I have all the extensions in the world, but I wanted to say the extension for Odell Beckham.
2 words. Cha-ching.
Does he deserve it?
Let me put it
How
this
old
way.
is he, first of all?
He's a really young guy. He's only about 25. He's 25, actually.
Okay, 25, so it's
So
70
he hasn't even reached the prime of his career yet. So naturally, he was going to get a really fair offer. 5 years and $95 million is a lot more than fair. It's just outright wow. That's all I can say.
For us normal human beings, that's far gone. But for people like that, that's chump change. Mm-hmm. Because remember, the economy changes left and right. Mm-hmm. And remember, money that was, you thought $100 million was a long contract, and then all of a sudden you come to these years, and $100 million is nothing.
Mm-hmm. Some are even saying that maybe Bryce Harper will break $300 to $400 million
Well, oh, geez.
when he's up for free agency.
Odell Beckham Jr., $95 million extension.
$35 million of which is guaranteed.
And the other ones are incentives, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I'm hoping one of those incentives will lead to a championship.
I want the Jets to win a championship before I would like the Giants would, because it's been such a long time for the Jets right now.
You know what I would like to see?
Jets versus Giants.
Thank you. I think it would turn the entire city upside down if we had a Jets versus Giants Super Bowl. We were blessed 50 to 60 years ago, we were blessed with Yankees versus Dodgers and Yankees versus Giants when we had 3 baseball teams here.
Right, and
Now, just once, I would like to see a Jets versus Giants Super Bowl.
We did have a Yankees versus Mets. But
and we also had a Yankees versus Mets
and
World Series, which was fantastic.
It was fantastic except for the Met fans, because then they went, all those damn Yankee fans, once again, they think that they're all this and all that. And, it's tough when you're in the same league And when you're in the same division, Jets. When it's Yankees versus Mets, that's not only bragging rights. That's longevity right there. You can't just do it once. You have to do it 2 or 3 times or 4 times, because imagine if the Mets would have beaten the Yankees.
Oh, forget about it.
That's it.
If the Mets were to never win another World Series ever again in our lifetime, they will always have the bragging rights of beating the Yankees in that one World Series that they did play against them.
Exactly. And, that's something else. But
we've been fortunate to have Rangers versus Devils in a couple of Eastern Conference finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We even had the Knicks and the Nets in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, that was
only 3 times, though.
Yeah, that's a damn shame.
You know what would be really cool? If those 2 teams would face each other in an Eastern Conference.
Oh, I would love it.
I would love that. We would have a battle of the boroughs that would be like no other.
That would be a hell of a thing going. But should the Giants trade center Jones to Vikings for a 2019 pick?
Here, let me see this. Oh, I think I might know what you're talking about. Oh, yes. You're thinking of Kent Jones.
Kent Jones, yes.
I think I might know why. It's because the Yankees had a...
Yankees, way to go. Yeah, the Yankees need him to
That's
do
the
what?
Dominican in me still thinking baseball.
The Yankees, and go ahead.
That's because the Giants have a little bit of a logjam on the offensive line right now. So when you think about it, was it the right move? Yeah, because I almost said the Yankees again. The Giants will be loading up on some draft picks. That way, they can try and build for the future.
And so far, they don't look too shabby right now. They have good players.
They've looked much better in preseason, though. They've looked a lot better. But at the same time, let's see what happens.
How's their backup quarterback also?
For the Giants?
Yeah.
Both of those guys. And for the record, I mispronounced his name. It's Brett Jones, not Kent Jones. Kent Jones is actually the rapper.
Right.
Brett Jones wound up getting sent over to the Vikings. And now that the Giants have the kid that they brought in from most recently the Patriots, John Halapio, it made Jones a little bit more expendable. And Halapio is a really great story. Jones is a great story, too, because before he went to the Giants, he played up in Canada. And Halapio was bouncing around with 2 different teams, and he had a cup of coffee with the Patriots before he wound up making his way to the Giants.
And, it's going to be... It's going to be a fun season this year because both of them should be able to make it, far bearing any major injuries.
Mm-hmm. Although there's still some contract talks that the Giants have to deal with because Landon Collins is going to be up for free agency soon. And the Giants might want to talk turkey with them or vice versa.
Yeah.
And there's also the matter of, you mentioned injuries. It's a good thing that you mentioned the injuries. Because, unfortunately, one of the guys that the Giants are hoping to build with defensively, Olivier Vernon, had to be carted off the field because, unfortunately, he hurt his ankle and he missed the rest of his practice time. So let's see if Vernon can come back 100% from that injury because if not, then he might have to be on the PUP list, which means he's going to have to miss the first 6 games.
Again, that's a damn shame, especially when you get hurt in preseason. Should preseason be allowed at all?
Should it be allowed? They have to allow it because it's the only way for these guys to try and get themselves in game shape for the year. Now, if you want to talk about cutting down on preseason games,
right?
Yeah, I would like to see them cut down on preseason games. 4 is enough, But then again, that would probably mean shortening it to just 2 preseason games and then extending the regular season to 18 games, which I know the players will not want to do. They don't want to play 16 games. The owners want it, but not the players.
And there you have the other problem, which is the person that's trying to make the team may not can't impress nobody in 2 games.
No, it's going to take more than just 2 games for a coach to really decide on who he wants on his roster.
Unless
he needs at least 3 games to make that happen.
Have they added more players this year? All football teams have they come to adding more players on their field on their teams this year?
I mean, in the off season, that was where all of the real activity took place.
It used to be, but how many players are you allowed on the teams?
On the roster, it's 53. It's 53 guys now.
Now it's 53. It used to be what before?
It used to be 45.
Oh, okay. And now I understand why they allow. They should allow. They should allow.
It's 53 guys plus a practice squad.
Okay. Yeah.
And the practice squad guys are just that. They're strictly guys who are used for practice time before games, the week of games.
Right. And the Jets. Good thing, bad thing?
The more I'm hearing about the Jets, the more I'm hearing that Sam Darnold is going to be the guy taking snaps from center. Yeah.
Wow.
He has impressed them so much and has looked so cool and calm and collected taking snaps from behind center. I think the Jets are going to make him the guy opening night of the season in Detroit.
And the Jags going after Bridgewater?
That's a hot rumor that's been going on. I'm thinking the Jaguars want to make a trade for Bridgewater because in case they cannot come to contract terms with Blake Bortles, Teddy Bridgewater could be the guy that they go to.
But that's another thing. If I'm
not only that, but Teddy Bridgewater and Blake Bortles were drafted in the same class in 2014.
If I'm Bridgewater, if I'm not there to start, why am I going to be back up? I might as well stay with a team that I know is going to make the playoffs because they just have a really good chance this year of making the playoffs.
If they want to be serious about being a playoff team, there's got to be some things that they have to iron out. The running game is one. Is Bilal Powell really going to be the guy, or are they going to look to somebody else? Number 2 is the offensive line. Number 3 is the secondary. Number 4, I'm still not certain about who's going to be the number 1 receiver for Sam Darnold to throw to. Is it going to be Jermaine Kearse? Is it going to be Robbie Anderson? Who's it going to be?
Right. You know,
and also, who is going to be the everyday tight end for the Jets now?
No.
We don't know who that's going to be. And you mentioned the injuries. Evan Ingram is another guy that Giant fans have to worry about because he suffered a concussion.
Or Elijah McGuire, is it? Yeah.
Elijah McGuire, yeah.
Won't be ready for season opener.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's another guy that the Jets brought in to be in their running back rotation. I mean, I'm all for having depth at a certain position, but if you can't decide on who the guy is going to be, you have problems. And if none of those guys you feel is going to be a contributor or is any good, that's another problem.
Eric Decker retires after 8 seasons, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hit to the Vikings as well.
Yeah.
But,
excuse me.
You know,
he wound up starting his career with the Broncos. He actually had some really, really great seasons with the Broncos and a little bit with the Jets before he wound up making his way to the Titans for his final year.
Did the Jets cut Wasim Whitehead?
Yeah, let me see if I can find that out.
Because here it is. I got it over here.
Here we go. Here we are.
Here it is, right here. Look.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Lucky Whitehead. That's the guy that the Jets acquired from the Cowboys.
Yeah. Should they cut him? Oh, well, they did cut him to get John. what is that name? Ball Force? Okay, boy, am I.
Mm-hmm.
But should they have done that?
That's a good question. I mean, let's face facts. Whitehead did not put himself in a really great light after he wound up getting dumped by the Cowboys for his off-the-field troubles. So naturally, that was going to follow him anywhere he was going to go.
Unless he played well enough. But you also, another player that's retired is Manu Ginobili.
Yeah.
He's finally retiring.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't want him to retire. That's the thing. They don't want him to retire. They want him to play basketball. I mean, Vince Carter's playing. He's 41 years old.
Vince Carter's coming back for a 21st season of pro basketball. Manu Ginobili played 16 years, all 16 years with the Spurs. He won 4 titles. He was probably one of the most clutch players that the Spurs ever had, which is saying something since they also had Tony Parker for, 14 years? And also, 16 years actually. And Tim Duncan, who was probably one of the greatest big men to ever play the game.
Yeah.
But we can't really fault from Manu Ginobili for wanting to make the decision that he did. He had an outstanding career. There really wasn't that much left for him to fulfill. Not only that, but his playing time went way down in the last 2 years.
Right.
I mean, keep in mind, they were resting him a lot in the regular season so they can get him ready for the playoffs.
Question, and that is this.
And for the record, Vince Carter is going to take his game to Atlanta.
This girl here, I want you to talk about her for a second. It's tennis.
Oh, yes. Naomi Osaka. Naomi Osaka is a 20-year-old tennis
Prodigy.
phenom.
Yeah.
Not just prodigy, phenom. And some are calling her the next Serena Williams.
Don't call her the next Serena. Don't call her the sister of Serena. Don't call her
she
nothing.
is making it loud and clear. She does not want to be compared to Serena
Well,
Williams.
it's a shame because she will be. That's the thing, because there aren't too many minority players out there.
Mm-hmm. And the minorities that have been there, 2 of them have had outstanding careers. Serena being one of them.
Serena's sister wasn't shabby either.
Venus Williams has had a very good career.
You just
Serena
don't hear
Williams,
as much as her.
Yeah, mostly because she's been hurt.
Got a question for you. Remember that article I sent you about CBS and ESPN and Donald Trump?
Yeah, I saw it.
What did you think of that?
I think he's just trying to make his voice heard for
tell
no reason
the fans,
whatsoever.
Tell the fans what that was about.
He made a big stinker all because CBS and ESPN decided not to air the national anthems that was played before specific games on their networks.
Now, mind you, we all know what the kneeling is about. And for those that don't know, it's for injustice. It has nothing to do with the military. It has nothing to do with the unfairness of the flag or any type of disrespect and so forth. It has to do with the injustices that are happening in the world with whomever people that's getting into it. And one last thing, our prayers go out to John McCain's family.
Yeah.
Speaking of kneeling down, I'm sure he had something to say about that. John McCain's family, he died of brain cancer. He just died 2 days ago.
Yeah, he died a couple of days ago after deciding to decline treatment.
So, you know what? Great life he had. What he did for our country was fabulous, even though our president didn't like it. But my name's Hector Bosa, the hardest, baddest, 60-man cable access TV. Look at the Home Invaders Rise show Sundays, 11 p.m. And if you want to be on my show, Home Invaders at yahoo.com. Take it away, Jamie.
For everyone here, I'm Jaime.
And tell them where to look for you at.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Snapchat. Good night, everyone.
Nighters.